My greetings from the Navdanya Biodiversity Farm to Rotarians who have gathered. Kamal Sangvi, the Director of Rotary International and Chair of Rotary Institute. Dr. Bharat Pandya, Director of Rotary International. Mr. Shekhar Mehta, the incoming President of Rotary International for the year 2021-2022. The Rotary leaders from India and abroad who have gathered for this meeting and conference. And Rotarians. The COVID times are a strange time to communicate virtually and not be present with you. But I am present with you in spirit for our common responsibility to take care of our common home. It has been seen as a health emergency that there is one pandemic. But we forget there have been repeated pandemics in the last few decades as we have deregulated commerce and celebrated greed as the highest end of human beings, measured in terms of growth of the economy, not seeing where does this growth go? Does it create billionaires or does it create well-being? And how was it created? Was it created by extraction from the earth, from society, from community, from farmers? Or is it true growth created by growth of plants and children and community and well-being? And that is why I am very, very honored and privileged that I work with Bhutan, which said we will not measure gross domestic product and gross national product. We will measure gross national happiness and well-being for all. And that is the only way to take care of our common responsibility to the earth, all her beings, and all members of the human community. In India, we have been blessed with a very deep concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the earth is one family. There is no inequality between humans and other species. This anthropocentrism was created by colonialism, just to conquer the world. That we are part of the earth and the earth is alive. We are not her masters and conquerors. The mode of conquest and militarism is at the root of violence against the earth and violence against people, and the divisions and separations that trouble all our societies. The inequality of our societies has become absolutely unbearable, with 0.0001% controlling more wealth than half of humanity. I've done a book on this called Oneness versus 1%, and I invite you to look for it because it's been published in many countries. When we think of COVID and define it as a health emergency, we forget that its roots are in ecological disruption. The more than 300 new epidemics come because our limitless greed economy has invaded into forests in the name of feeding the world, but only 10% of the GMO soya that is being grown in the Amazon by burning the lungs and livers of the earth. They are only 10% of GMO soya is used for human food. The rest goes for animal feed and biofuel. And we are destroying the very fabric of the earth for a handful of companies. The Monsantos that own the patent on GMO soya, the Cargills who trade in it. And this invasion into the forests, not respecting the rights of indigenous people, not respecting the integrity of the forest and the rights of the forest, is at the root of repeated emergent disease epidemics. So when we define it as a health problem, we are forgetting its ecological roots. And we are forgetting that this is connected to climate change, which is seen as a totally different problem. But 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from forest destruction in the last 2-3 decades. 20%. And if you add up all the contributions of an industrial globalized food system that is also destroying our health, We are talking about 50% greenhouse gas emissions coming from a non-sustainable food system. So the climate change roots and the roots of disease epidemics are the same. The abuse of nature, disrespect for her limits, and ignorance of the amazing ways in which the earth works. Common responsibility for the environment begins with knowledge of ecological processes. I feel very grateful that I've been able to walk this path, both through my training as an academic in physics, in quantum theory, that everything is non-separable. You can take particles away and put them light years apart, and they are still connected. And that everything has potential. There's nothing like a fixed thing. Everything is quantum potential. And everything is uncertain because that potential could make a particle or it can make a wave of interconnectedness. And then with Chipko movement in the hills behind me, in the mountains behind me, where women came out and hugged the trees with their common responsibility to protect the Himalaya, its rivers, its mountains, its waters. Early 70s, I became a volunteer. And those simple lessons of ecology, that everything is connected through nutrient cycles. Food is the nourishment of life. And it begins with the little green leaf, where the sun is shining for free and blessing us abundantly, including on our solar cooker, where we don't have to use fossil fuels. And in this green leaf, with photosynthesis, the sun takes the carbon dioxide, which otherwise is a pollutant, and makes it the food of the plant, making the carbohydrates and giving us the oxygen to breathe. In India, pranayam is soham, you are, therefore I am. To the green leaf I say, you are, therefore I breathe. But this amazing phenomena of photosynthesis can take a little seed and burst it into the trees. There were no trees on the Navdanya farm when we started, and it is now a green campus where we grow more than 2,000 varieties of crops, 750 varieties of rice, 250 varieties of wheat that we are planting again. We conserve diversity and we grow diversity. But this growth is not counted by what I have called the blindness of the monoculture of the mind that define the earth as dead and treated the imposition of monocultures as growth. And this illusion is very much there in the context of agriculture. I did my training in quantum theory, but I had to start looking at agriculture with the 1984 protests in Punjab of the farmers, like the protests on the streets of India today. Farmers want to grow our food and want to grow healthy food. Farmers want to take care of the earth. And because food is the currency of life, and our health begins with food, and the health of the planet begins with food, it is time to realize that a non-sustainable, unjust food system is behind all the emergencies we face. The climate emergency, the extinction emergency, the health emergency, the pandemics, and the unemployment where people are taken from the land and uprooted and turned into throwaway people. If food is the currency of life, counterfeit currency can destroy life. Just like counterfeit currency in an economy can destroy economy. When is the economy of food counterfeit? When you apply chemicals. Because chemicals are not part of the nutrition cycle. You kill the soil organisms. You kill the butterflies and the bees and the pollinators which give us 1/3 of the food. You pollute the oceans with dead zones, and you create nitrous oxide, which is 300 more deadly as a climate changing greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. When we practice organic systems on this beautiful farm, and the carbon in our soil has increased 100%, the nitrogen in our soils have increased 100%. But more importantly, we weren't looking for zinc. Zinc has gone down in chemical farms and gone up in our farms. Iron has gone up in our farms. Iron deficiencies because we don't feed the soil, so our plants are deficient. The world's data is showing that food has lost 60 to 70% of its nutrition because of chemicals in agriculture. And then we fabricate food into junk food and make ourselves sick. And then we pay a farmer 0.04 pice for a package of chips that gives our children diabetes and obesity. And finally, we forget that the biodiversity outside in the world is reflected in the biodiversity within us. We have 100 trillion microbes in our gut. They make our health. Biodiversity is health from the planet to our personal health. Biodiversity is health of ecosystems and our plate. And I do hope Rotary will join us in this journey over the next decade to create an economy of care for the earth, an economy of regeneration of the earth. Because as our work in Navdanya has shown, we can grow enough food by caring for the earth to feed 2 times the human population. This idea that to feed the human population we must destroy the earth is a myth that has preoccupied me now for nearly 3.5 decades. There is no bigger lie in the world. I've done a book called Who Really Feeds the World? Making Peace with the Earth, Stolen Harvest. I cannot understand how the human mind can shrink itself to take myths as science. We offer courses at the Earth University. In fact, I'm sitting at the beach with Yapit, where we offer courses on how to return to the earth, how to farm ecologically, how to address climate change. Soil not oil is our course on climate change and the soil. How to conserve water, which is, I know, a big preoccupation for the Rotarians. This is a year that has been a year of challenge. Let 2021 be a year of regeneration, both of our paradigms, of our ways of thinking, our ways of growing food, our ways of thinking about the economy. And no one is better placed to take a lead in this transition to regeneration of the soil, of the plants, our communities, our children, take care of future generations. Our common responsibility to the environment, our common responsibility to the earth begins with a simple recognition that the earth is for all beings, that all beings have a share to the food, the water, the breath that the earth gives us because they have a right to live. And human beings that have to come and other beings of the future also have a share. Therefore, caring for the earth is caring for all species, caring for all human beings, and caring for future generations. It is not about a small group of people for a short period of time. We cannot steal the future from our children. We cannot steal the present from other beings and other species. And we definitely cannot steal the future for ourselves, for the disease called greed, which has been made to look like it's natural to us and in our DNA. No, we have potential to be giving and sharing or grabbing and greedy. We have the potential for well-being or misery, disease, degeneration. Let's make the right choice for the earth and humanity.